Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this week's webinar. My name is Michael Covone. I am your Chief Revenue Officer of Deepblocks. I appreciate you taking the time to join us as we are going to explore Atlanta, Georgia. Keeping with the theme that we've been going through each and every week of canvassing markets, and it's really to show you the power of the software, how we standardize our software to search throughout all the cities that we have zoning information in, as well as parcel level data, market intelligence, demographic trends, and all our data points and data sets converge into one software solution. And again, we want you to see how strong in the capacity of using Deepblocks to go through each and every city and quickly scan a city, find those development opportunities, and do it within minutes. I mean, again, we're getting a tremendous amount of feedback from our existing users and companies we partner with, how they're able to reduce months, sometimes weeks, months of work into literally a matter of minutes, especially on the site selection side. And just to kind of dive into our software, our software is kind of built into, and then we have two interfaces where on the front end, you have your site selection tool, which is an automated site selection process allowing you to scan the market, canvas the market, and find sites based on your development criteria, as well as in that process overlay various data sets and map layers from heat maps to census data, as well as market rates to understand and analyze that particular market. And then upon selecting that site, you can either do a single parcel, you can do assemblages, you can draw subdivisions within a larger parcel using our Draw Parcel tool, go through preliminary underwriting, and then go through for multifamily, retail, office, industrial, mixed use, whatever it may be, into our other page or our other interface where you do feasibility studies. And you can go through various iterations and enter in assumptions on the income side, the cost side, as well as setbacks to model your building and truly optimize the parcel, the assemblage, again, whatever land or whatever area you've selected, to truly figure out, does this particular parcel make sense for your development criteria? Is it worth your resources to move forward? And to understand the key goal here is to not only reduce your time, but also save you a tremendous amount of money up front. These iterations can cost 5, 10, 15 grand, if not more money, every time you got to go through the process of seeing what is optimal on a particular parcel, especially looking into the zoning information. And with Deepblocks, you have that zoning information readily available on the website. Additionally, it's just saving you a great deal of time to go through these studies that you can do it right on your computer and not, again, have to wait to go back and forth between you and your consultant or whoever you may be working with. So between the site selection and the feasibility studies, it's just a tremendous way of streamlining your process and eliminating extravagant pain points that really do affect your process and delay your process, where Deepblocks is giving you a competitive advantage and edge to really move forward. So we will be demonstrating that today. And again, with a big focus on the canvassing of a particular city, which is going to be Atlanta. Going to be looking for some multifamily development opportunities, some industrial, and just kind of show you how we can go from a macro level to understand where we're seeing pockets of density down to, and zoom in and scan the city, look for these opportunities, apply again some of the map layers, look at some of the demographic trends, and truly help us make our decision relatively quickly. We like to say that we're seeing deals being sourced at a 10x versus what they were typically using before Deepblocks. So essentially, if you had 3-4 analysts working on looking for sourcing deals, you can pretty much get 30 to 40. It's almost as equivalent to 30 or 40 analysts working with the use of Deepblocks. I mean, and we almost challenge you to try that, and we invite you to not only set up a call with myself or get on a trial to go through the process on your own, but we definitely demonstrate with you and show you the power of the software and how we're seeing that 10x. I think they're 10 times faster or 10x multiple in terms of using Deepblocks. So I'm going to share my screen. Again, I do appreciate you joining this afternoon as we canvass Atlanta, Georgia. And just before I kind of really dive into Atlanta, just like to always show, these are the 100 cities we currently are in with zoning. Those are represented with the red dots. The blue dots represent all the 1,100 plus parcels that or cities that we have with parcel level information. So we continue to expand our reach of information on the zoning side, the parcel level side, and then as I've previously explained, that we have market data throughout the entire country in terms of market rates, census data to understand median income, employment, population growth, stuff along those lines. Additionally, we show market rates as well, which we take an aggregate of listing data throughout the country. And based on geolocation and census tract, we apply our machine learning and break it down to show you a strong baseline of dollar per square foot for each asset class, from rental rates for residential, for retail, office, industrial. So again, in hotel as well. And just jumping in quickly, some of the other parts of our site, we have our webinars section, our tutorial section, which are great. Is a great resource to find 60-second or shorter clips just to see some of the key functionalities and then understanding how to use the software, as well as our pricing. Currently, we're at $36,000 a year, which you will be grandfathered into that pricing. So no matter as our pricing continues to increase, you'll be locked in at the $36,000, and that's for all 100 cities. If you're just only in the need for state pricing, we do state pricing at $18,000 per state. And we also offer a local pricing of $5,400 per city at the moment. And again, always feel free to reach out to me, Michael at deepblocks.com, if you want to discuss pricing further, again, or set up a one-on-one call, go through a quick demo. Or again, if you want a quick trial of the pro version, we can set you up for a few days to give it out, give our software a shot. And again, go through and test how fast you can source deals using our software, or go through feasibility studies. So with that, let's jump into Atlanta, Georgia. You're now looking at my dashboard where I save all my projects. And here we go. We're going to jump into Atlanta, Georgia. And like I mentioned, our goal here today is just, and continue with the theme of the last few weeks, is how we can quickly canvas a market, scan the city in minutes, and look for specific opportunities. And let me just reset some of my sliders here. All right, so just to kind of give a quick little overview of the particular software and the particular panels in the software and what we're looking at. I'm going to first zoom out a bit and give you a nice broad macro overview of the city of Atlanta. We're really going to get a nice bird's eye view. Now, on our left side, we like to call this our input side. We have our tools section up here, which I'll get into a little more detail as we kind of zoom in a bit and start searching parcels. But just a general overview here, we have our satellite layer. You can select one parcel at a time. You can do assemblages. That's with the plus sign. And as I mentioned earlier, we can draw parcels within a larger parcel. We can do subdivisions, build out single family homes. And again, we can use that tool for many different uses in the sense to do our feasibility studies. Our market scanner is right here, where we will be entering our criteria as our parcels begin to appear, which, as I need to zoom in before we continue that process, but that'll help us narrow down our results. And on the right side, we like to see is our outputs panels, where you can select different map layers and demographic trends to understand and analyze the area. So first, just give you a little overview of Atlanta, Georgia. I'm going to select my buildable area ratio. And again, this is a really powerful layer that we like to use. It's a heat map to kind of give you a good indication where we're seeing pockets of density in the city. Now, anything that's in our map layers here, as I always like to mention, you can go to our market scanner, jump onto the map legend. You'll see how that data is sourced and how it is represented. And you'll notice for buildable area ratio, anything that's in a dark red is a greater than 12 index, meaning that there's strong density, say pockets of density going on there, and growth potential and development potential. So that could be a good indication of an area to look into as you're kind of looking at, again, from a macro level of a particular city. We can also turn on our unit density. Again, another great layer. Now, this is not as prominent for this particular example, but you can see, and I use this in some other cities where this information is a little more prominent, where you can kind of get an idea of where there's potential on the unit density side. You can, and where there's more potential for by units allowed. But another great layer here is opportunity zones. So we can also apply this layer. Now we can overlay this on top of our gross buildable, area ratio and kind of get an idea of where we might see pockets of density within opportunity zones. So for instance, we might see some opportunities here, this part of Atlanta, as well as this part of Atlanta. So we can kind of maybe focus our attention in those two parts as we begin to scan this city. And then as we continue to zoom in a bit, as we kind of start to focus in this part of Atlanta, we could go to our people layer and activate our median income just to get a general idea of median income. So again, if we're looking for maybe affordable housing play, we might be looking into these particular census tracts for the median income. Maybe we're looking at median rent as well, or can kind of turn on population. Again, all different types of indicators to just kind of help us understand and analyze a particular part of a city. And we also have our residential rates, which I mentioned is our dollar per square foot. This is, again, an aggregate of listing data of rental rates throughout the country, but we then break it down by census tract, apply our machine learning to bring a strong baseline of dollar per square foot in a particular census tract throughout the city. And again, we do the same thing for hotel, office, retail, and industrial. So industrial, because we might be looking at some industrial plays today, another good layer to always activate. So with that, let's continue to kind of zoom in and really refine our search, and you'll start to see the parcels appear as I get to a certain point. Now, just one key piece of advice I always like to mention, I'm currently using Google Chrome. Deepblocks is a SaaS product and can be used on different browsers. We recommend using Google Chrome. Here, I'm on a 24-inch monitor. The more parcels you can capture on your screen, the broader your search can be. So if you have a bigger monitor, you'll capture more parcels. If you're on a smaller monitor, one of the, again, suggestions, what I like to do is I drop my zoom down to 80% of the screen. That way you can actually capture more on your particular screen. So as you see these blue parcels appear, now again, just to kind of turn back on that little area ratio, we're right in that hot pocket area that I mentioned earlier. We can turn on those opportunity zones, or we kind of have, and again, we can overlay it. So let's maybe start our focus right along this area in Atlanta. We've got this particular area in Atlanta as well. And we can kind of get a good feel of what makes sense in terms of a multifamily play. So now that we're zoomed in with the parcels now appearing, we can start to enter our search criteria for the market scanner. Now you can search one of two ways. You begin your search one of two ways, but before I even start to enter in certain criteria, just to give you a little bit of an idea about, we're looking at about 4,800 parcels. And simply what I did is I just took my lot size, turned it on, go to 0 to 1.5 million. It should pretty much capture all the parcels in your screen for the most part. And again, give you a rough idea of how many parcels you're looking at. So we're looking at about 4,800. And now we're going to begin refining our search. And I'm going to, again, use allow, as I mentioned. If you know your zoning districts, you could go that route. But if you use allow, it might be a little more general and easier to search in that capacity. So we're going to do multifamily. Now you'll notice that there's a few different listings for multifamily in Atlanta, and that just comes with the territory, and the municipality has different ways of wording it. So you can just select each one. You can select as many as you feel is necessary, but for this case, we're going to select all the ones that are related to multiple multifamily. As you can tell, they have multifamily dwellings, or multiple family, all meaning the same thing. So now you'll notice that we went from 4,800 to 1,600 parcels match. I always like to explain that you can then export to CSV all the files, or sorry, all the parcels matching and into a CSV file. And with that, you'll get all 1,604 listings. You will receive all the legal addresses, along with 15 columns of really strong information from zoning information, census, demographic information, and just information that's really particular to each parcel, and a really great way of resourcing, is a great resource to start sourcing your deal and kind of begin your search. But the whole goal is to kind of really refine your search to get down to those few opportunities and development opportunities, so we can continue to reduce our results and start to enter in other piece of criteria. So now we can use estimated units allowed. So for instance, let's see if we put up 20 here, or if we get any results, and there's nothing matching there. So let's actually go a little bit of a different route, because I know units allowed for this particular area is not as prominent as we saw earlier. But one thing we can look for is use median income. So let's say we're going to do a multifamily affordable housing play. And I'm going to do from 0 to 25,000. Now you'll notice we're down to about 431 parcels. So quickly went from 4,800 to 431. And again, always keep in mind at any point, we can always turn on our different layers just to kind of reassure us where we're looking in here. Make sure we're in that pocket of density. Now we are a little outside of it, which is not a problem either. Sometimes it's good to go a little bit outside in terms of and go find areas that are adjacent to where we're seeing pockets of density to also find maybe something a little more affordable in terms of developing. So there's nothing wrong with that as either. So it's just now we can also look at our opportunity zones as well. So you might be looking to say, all right, maybe this is more advantageous than this particular area. But again, so always keep in mind, you can turn your layers on and off just as you go through your search. We can also adjust. Let's see what else we have here. We can adjust our lot size. Maybe we're looking for a certain type of size parcel. So maybe we're gonna look for a little bit less. Let's look for 25,000 square feet. And now we're dropping down to 367 parcels. Let's go a little bit smaller, maybe 10,000 square feet. And now we're down to 322 and maybe an FAR of, let's say 20. It's going to be probably a little high. Let's go to FAR of 6. See it down to 311. Then we go a little bit smaller. All right. So just kind of playing with these numbers a little bit to kind of reduce our search. Now with these highlighted, we're up to 322. Again, we're still kind of a macro level view. Let's start to zoom in and really refine even a little bit more. And we can start to focus in on this particular area. And again, we try to, now we're down to 188. We could also, just like to say, so we're looking at this particular area, you look at opportunity, different opportunities in the sense of, we can look at assemblages here. Now, one way of doing this, we can export these 188 parcels that we're matching and say to ourselves, all right, this is a good part of the city that I'm interested in, and come back to this part. Now we can also zoom out and start to, again, move our screen and start to really go. And the software is very intuitive and extremely interactive in the sense that you can move north, south, east, or west and continue to look for opportunities. And your criteria will be saved, and you'll just continue to move the screen in accordance to where you might want to look. So we have 91 parcels matching there. Now, again, just to make sure we're kind of staying in line to what our credentials, we could say, all right, maybe there was a better affordable housing opportunity in this particular part of the city of Atlanta. So again, you'll notice that our criteria is still in place, and we can continue to scan the market. And this is kind of the whole concept of Deepblocks. You want to be able to quickly go through an entire city, which has thousands upon thousands of parcels, and look for these opportunities that match your criteria, that really are honed in on your particular development thesis and what's in line. And that's kind of the whole premise of when we say we're trying to standardize the process. We want to be able to take your criteria and apply it throughout and do it at scale. Be able to do it in Atlanta, do it in Miami, do it in Texas, cities in Texas. So again, that's kind of the whole concept. And even on a more granular point, like you could do it within a city and kind of break it down by census tract as well. So you want to kind of maybe find, if you're only focused in on Atlanta and you want to say to yourself, all right, I need to break this down by census tract, that there's certain census tracts that to make more sense for my development plays. We can look at the census tracts and kind of scan the city and say, I want to focus in on 118 over other census tracts. So just there's ways of going through this search and really finding these opportunities and doing it again in a very quick manner. So I'm going to kind of keep this, I want to keep this median income on for 1 second so we can kind of make sure we stay within. Now, again, we do have this slider activated that we're between 0 and 25,000. So that makes me feel good. Let's keep the opportunity zones on. So let's maybe stay focused in this particular. So yeah, as you can see, we were looking in a little south of here for a bit. We found over 100 parcels that match. Now we're in this part of Georgia Atlanta, and now we're seeing 106 parcels matching. So we have two good regions that make sense for specific multifamily plays based on our criteria. Now, just to take it to the next step, we can start to zoom in a bit. Maybe we want to look at some of the demographic trends and say to ourselves, let's see what's going on in this particular part of Atlanta Now you'll notice we have these 4 color boxes. The way this works is that once you put your mouse over the color box and it overshadows your results, we can say that, all right, this is census tract 118. And again, another way of doing it is just, you can simply turn on census tract and you'll see that it's 118 as well. As you can see right there, 118. But so now we're just going to focus in on this 118 and look at the demographic trends. Now it was strong decline of population here. These are just indicators that might help us say to ourselves, I'm not sure I want to be searching parcels in this particular area. But you do have a strong employment or incline in employment per population, so that's a good sign. And this could be an area where we're trying to revitalize a bit. Gross rent up a little bit. You can also see it against the United States average, so it's nice, right in line. And then lastly, we have median household income. And then we can see on this, I'm just turning off the other census tract so we can just focus in on the trend line from 118, and again, also on an incline. So this, 3 of the 4 trends are trending upwards. So that could be a good indication. Maybe we can find some good deals here in this particular part of Atlanta. So maybe we should be trying to source a deal here and start looking at some of these parcels. Now, just to kind of go through the actual feasibility process, we can start to select these parcels and kind of understand the information and what is possible and what the potential is for development. As I mentioned, we could do an assemblage play. So maybe on this corner lot, we can almost take on all these parcels here, work out a deal where we take on all 4 of those parcels. Sorry, yeah, we got 4 parcels there. Lot size totaling 19,428 square feet. We're looking at vacant building data at the moment, relatively low market value. So, and then you'll see some of the zoning information. Use allowed is broken down for you right here, so we can do multifamily, as I mentioned. And then you get your setbacks, as well as we'll get our parking by use. So, from this juncture, we can start to explore this, kind of do a street view to get a relatively decent idea of what's going on in this particular area. We also do our satellite layer to see what's going on over here as well. But with these parcels selected, we can do an assemblage play and kind of do our multifamily preliminary underwriting. The FAR will come up predetermined. I'm actually going to change this a little bit. Again, every field we leave adjustable to your discretion, that you might be able to modify it so you can really, again, optimize it. And if you know the area well enough, you can also realize that you might be able to capitalize on this particular area and really get the most out of this particular development play, because we are in an opportunity zone. There's different incentives there. Now, you'll see, we get a 3D model massing. It's 100% lot coverage at the moment, but we like to start to adjust this and work the model a bit. So we'll first start by adjusting our parking by use. We're doing residential 0.99, so we just simply go to our parking underneath our adjust assumptions panel. We'll put 0.99 in. The parking will show up underneath, and then we can start to adjust our setbacks, which right now is everything just 40 feet, and then varies on the other fronts, but let's just put the 40 feet in. So with our setback mode, you can actually go into and adjust the setbacks and uniquely identify them based on each side. So we can make this A. We'll leave this whole side as B. We'll make this the rear. And then we'll make this side C. And the reason I'm doing that, what I'll do is we're going to exit out, and we can adjust these sides specifically how we want. So again, the primary is going to be A at 40 feet. B, we can do 5 feet. then we'll do 5 feet in the side, and then we'll do 5 feet in the rear. And then we could also kind of, you'll notice how I kind of work those setbacks a little bit. You'll see that pale green area. That's where the setbacks are being applied. And then we could kind of work this a bit in the sense that we could also adjust from certain floors up. So maybe on the second floor up, we'll go a little bit deeper. Maybe we'll do 50, 10, 10, and 10, just to kind of give you a way of showing you can shape the building a little bit. And then you kind of start playing with your assumptions. Now, some cool features we recently added. You can now adjust the different titles throughout the different panels. So even on the defined building, you can also, you'll notice here. So we can basically make these, we can identify our unit mix however we see fit. So again, for affordable housing, if you have 70% of the is regular housing and 30% is affordable housing within your building, you can break it down in that regard. If you have different types of one bedroom with 1 bath, 1 bedroom with 1.5 baths, whatever it may be, you can now enter in the unit mix that you see fit. And just to kind of show you how this works, so I'm going to do 1 bedroom, affordable. I'll do 1 bedroom, reg. And then we'll do 2 bedroom, and then 2 bedroom and neg, regular. So you'll see what's going to happen is, and then let's just do 5, 5, 6, and 6. So now you have 22 units, and what you'll notice, like, this is now reflected down here, so is not only the gross buildable as well as the multifamily income. So now we actually have a specific unit mix breakdown according to our model and how we like to lay it out. And then again, you can adjust these, the gross billable size as you see fit. And we can also adjust the incomes, the rental income as you see fit. Now, these are some market rates that we are pulling in based on the census tract. But again, these are adjustable based on what you might see. Maybe for what you're trying to do, this might be a little bit lower. For the regular, might be a little bit higher again. So you can enter in the values you feel are necessary. But the point is that you can adjust these, and then it'll be reflected throughout. And the same goes on the project cost side. We do have a question, a great question, and I get this question often. Can you project underground parking? We do not at the moment do underground parking. It's a little complicated to visually present in the software. It is something we are looking into because it is a question we get quite frequently, especially in big cities, because I know there's a lot of underground parking. So it is something we are looking into figuring out. And I always bring that to my team to consider it. One thing we are adding for parking right now, we have parking costs, but we're going to be adding in parking income as well. So that'll at least give us another piece of data and way of adjusting our numbers and return analysis and including that. But again, on this, you'll notice you can adjust these different line items on the cost side as well. So we're just trying to give you a little more flexibility in identifying, specific line items that might meet your needs more than what we've originally presented. So that's why, and again, anything you change here will be reflected in your assumptions. So just to keep, again, and always keep in mind, our left sides are input values, our right sides are always our output. But you'll see here our return on analysis is our 1 year back of the envelope return on costs. But then we have our breakdown of assumptions. So as you adjust your proper use on the income side and the cost in different setbacks, everything here is automatically calculated, updated, and if there's any change in the information, you'll automatically see it reflected here or in the PDF report when you export that report. So just gives you a little bit more flexibility to adjust some titles to make it more specific and more customizable to what you're trying to accomplish. So this is just a quick little overview of the feasibility study. But again, the real key here is today's webinar, and just like it has been in recent weeks, is to kind of go through and again, scan this market looking for particular multifamily plays in minutes. Just quickly, we're going to highlight, we're going to do industrial right now and throw that on. And again, similar concept. We're going to just put industrial in. We're going to zoom out a bit. All right. And just again, give you a quick idea of how many parcels we're looking at. For 1 sec. So right now we have about 1,600. Let me zoom in a little bit more. All right, so there's about 2,800 right here. I can even capture some more. And always remember, you can minimize these panels if they're blocking kind of your view and looking at everything. So right now, look at about 4,500 parcels. Let's see what kind of industrial plays we can find. We got industrial. We do industrial building as well. And there you go. So now we're down to 213 parcels matching. You know, another great slider in terms of this buildable area, where we can maybe look for our gross buildable within, let's say, let's start with 75,000 square feet. And right there, we're down to 161. So that's, I'm looking for industrial, 0 to 75,000 square feet. And let's kind of work off that for the moment. Let's turn on those industrial rates. Looking at about $9.16 a square foot, which is a pretty strong rate. So we can kind of look in this particular area. You look at our road types, and that's kind of gives you an idea of the types of roads that are around these particular parcels. And as I mentioned, we can quickly start to scan the market. And as you move your screen north, south, east, or west, again, automatically updates and shows you the results that are matching your particular criteria, as I mentioned. So we're at between 0 and 75,000, but these types of uses allowed. And again, we can put those rates back on so we can just see what's going on in this part of Atlanta for industrial, and just continue to move and then work the screen. And again, between exporting your matches to CSV files, scanning the market, I mean, it's all here in one place for you. It's all right there at your fingertips to, again, quickly identify these parcels that are matching and start to look at these different parcels. And again, go through pretty quickly and say, all right, this parcel makes sense, this parcel doesn't make sense. And you can look at it in so many different ways, in the sense that you can select a parcel, look at the zoning information, you can select a parcel and run through the feasibility study. And we're trying to help expedite that process, saying, all right, is it a no or is it a go? Does it make sense to move forward, or does it make sense? Does it not make sense, and let's not waste any more time or resources on this particular parcel. So, and that is the big premise here. We're building a technology to help you source these deals faster. And right now we're seeing at least at a minimum a rate of 10 times faster, and allow you to scan cities and canvas markets in minutes and go through feasibility studies in a matter of minutes, turning months of work, sometimes, again, I mean, we've seen it take longer into, again, a very short period of time, in a matter of minutes. So with that being said, really do appreciate you taking the time and joining me this week as we looked at Atlanta, Georgia, and kind of scan the market a bit, show you more focus on the multifamily plays at first. And again, we're into a little bit of the feasibility studies on an assemblage in Atlanta, Georgia. Came back, turned on the industrial, and just kind of quickly showed you again the power of entering a couple pieces of criteria and start to find results in parcels matching our industrial criteria, and again, scanning that market quickly. But I do appreciate you taking the time, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me at Michael at Deepblocks.com.